Hi, today I'm going to show you the before and after of my craft sewing room. I'm going to show you how I use the things I already have to make it work for me a bit better. You can probably see the mess behind me already. I'll give you a little tour in a minute. And do stick around to the end to see how I change this. But basically you can see my craft storage is a bit all over the place. I do have fabric stored in colored bins, but it looks messy. It actually is kind of hard to find what I want in there. And I've got a few other issues with the storage that you might have as well. So I'll take you on a little tour. Okay, so I'm pretty lucky actually because I live in a big house. So we have two downstairs rooms. One, that we use for TV and kids playing and toys and stuff like that. And this one, which is about as big as, somebody's living room or their sitting room, I've kind of taken over for various things. So for my crafting and my sewing, there's the sewing machine. And then I also run a home business. So I sell baby gifts online. So I also need to print labels and things. And I also need to store a little bit of stock. It's hard, you maybe see the boxes there and the mess, huge mess. We're going to sort that out. I have another storage room for my stock as well, but that's sort of the overflow. And this is essentially my desk. So when I'm at my computer, I'm sitting here on the sofa instead of at the desk, and the desk is purely for sewing and crafting and all sorts of things. That hutch over there used to be in the kitchen. We decided it was too big and bulky next to the kitchen table. And so underneath there, or you can still see the child locks at the bottom, there's like the fancy dishes that you inherit from your grandmother and you never use, and like a sort of graveyard of travel mugs that we don't use because they leak and stuff like that. So I don't have all of that storage, so I might need to rehome some of it or think about what to do about it. But basically the space just isn't working for me at the moment. So it has to do a number of things, which I'm sure you can probably relate to, because a lot of people in their kind of craft rooms and things like that have to use it for more than one purpose. So a lot of people might have a craft room that's also a guest bedroom or your own bedroom, or again some sort of a storage space. So hopefully this will be useful even if you don't also need to use your space for a home office. So I'm going to have lots of tips and tricks about what you can do. And lots of ideas for creative storage that don't involve you spending money on fancy things or new units or anything like that. So as well as over there having sort of the printer and the paper, I have like an overflow of some of the just the odd product that I need to actually send out. And it doesn't make a whole lot of sense because usually when an order comes in, I'm probably sitting on my computer over there. The rest of the stock is over in the corner, along with the random yellow exercise ball, which was from when I was pregnant 2 years ago. So why is that there? I don't know. But anyways, so as well as needing to store things better, I also need to arrange the room a bit better so that I'm not constantly getting up and going over to one side to do something that doesn't make sense, so I should be doing one bit of work in one area and another in another area. So that's what I'm going to try to achieve with this, as well as storing things like fabric in a way where I can get it more easily and it just looks less cluttered. That just makes my brain feel cluttered, all that mess. It did look organized when I first put it up there, but as you kind of go into the bins and you take bits out, the like neat rolls of fabric inside the clear bins, that just don't look neat anymore. So I'm going to try and fix that as well. And then I also lastly have these. So I thought this great big black bin was a great idea for like works in progress and quilt batting and stuff like that. And it is, but not on top of the old coffee table that we can't find anywhere to put. So, so I need to kind of work on that as well. And that bin on top is like different stabilizers and, things for making bags and stuff like that. One thing I do like that I did before is to use this sideboard unit as like the division between the sort of sewing area and then this sort of sofa area, which is messy and looks rather purposeless at the moment. So I'm going to try and make that division clearer and still use that sideboard to achieve that. And this over here is like wrapping paper. These are balloons for my kids' birthdays, which I have plans to do something with, like upcycle them, but for now they're just sitting there. And like an old computer that broke that, again, I just don't want to toss in the recycling. I want to see if I can find someone who could use it or repair it or something. So it's just sitting there for now. So I need to work on all that. And then obviously I don't want to be staring at this mess of stuff either. So part of it's tidying, but part of it is having better systems to make it easier to keep it tidy. So hopefully you can relate if you have to work in a room that does more than one thing. So it's probably hard to get an idea of what the room actually looks like now. So I'll give you a good before pan if I can here. And there's my light. So that's the before. Stick around and see what I do with it after. Okay, hi. So here I am a few days later, and I've reorganized everything. So I will just show you. I'm going to start in what is like my home office kind of bit. So this here is that, that's still like a bit of a mess. That's literally where I work, where I write my blogs, where I answer emails, everything like that. That's my desk. I don't sit at a desk. I sit on the sofa with a cushion on my lap, on my laptop. Anyway, but this is the big improvement. So I've moved all of the furniture around. So this unit here that I've got my printer on used to be all the way over there. So when I was having to print a label from here on the sofa, I was having to walk all the way across the room. It made no sense. Anyway, so this is my new sort of station for my home business where I sell baby gifts. So I print there. That's a magazine file that I made out of a cereal box for my printer paper. And I'll show you a few more of those on the sewing dresser. And I've also got a video about how you make that because it's really easy. Okay, so this dresser, so this is the one that I moved. The drawers down there are just like papers that I don't have to access too often. A large scale for big packages and a little scale for, little packages with 1 to 2 things in it. In here, I just have like the ink for the printer and some products that I send out frequently and like some envelope sizes and things. So that's just like easy access kind of stuff. And then I still have a mess of stuff under the window. Basically, I've got another storage room for the main bit of stock that I have that I sell I mostly sell on Amazon and Etsy. So that's really tucked away usually, but when there's an overspill, it has to go here because there's nowhere else for the boxes to go. So sometimes that's gone, but sometimes it's not. And then I've got some like smaller box sizes, like I just save from stuff I get because I sometimes get like orders from small shops and they only want like 4 or 5 things. So I just need a small kind of size. And then that's all my packing tape and scissors for that. I've moved things like gifts and things that I'm sort of saving for the kids into that little basket. Hardly ever use that TV anymore. And this kind of lifts up and I put, let's see. So, wrapping paper, fabric bags, That's obviously not neatly stowed. And gift tags and things. This is what I'm moving to. So I'm not buying wrapping paper anymore. What I'm moving to is making my own fabric bags. So these are all the ones I made for Christmas this year for the kids, and I'm going to reuse them. I'll probably do a video about that because that's easy as well, but I haven't done one yet. And then, so what I've got in terms of wrapping paper is stuff we bought, you know, kind of years ago, or stuff I saved from that's pretty that other people have given me, you know, all sorts of bags and things like that. And that's just like a box that I put some wrapping paper on, but you can reuse it. So my husband is under strict orders not to buy any more wrapping paper in the future because we don't need it. We can just use what other folk give us and make our own bags and things. So this is still a mess as well, but this is basically pallet wood that I've cut up and maybe partially sanded or partially done something with. Had a project in mind, but I haven't finished it, so that's just where I'm storing it. I'm not going to light it or anything, obviously. And then moving over to the sewing area, which is mainly what I kind of use this room for. So I'll just do a pan first. So I guess this is the home office-y side, and I moved that wall hanging used to be on the other side, and move that, and there's my ridiculous light. Anyway, so that's the sewing desk over there. Much neater. And this is my dresser, which is much neater. So this is what I spent most of my time organizing, was the fabrics and things like that. So I'll just walk you through that. So what I started with was, so I had, if you remember, these clear bins on top. That's what I had my fabric in before. And you could see right through them, and I just thought it looked really messy. It didn't particularly help me find anything, even though you could see through them because I just shoved things into the boxes. So this, so far, you know, it's only been a little while. I've been able to keep up with the folding and the color sorting, and it's just much more pleasing to work with. I've left these aren't meant to be on here. These are just empty little thread bin and just a little tray I use while I'm working on things. Anyway, so what I started with was I found a tip. I'll try and link it or do a video or something for folding fabric. So I basically cut a piece of cardboard roughly the size of what I wanted the fabric to be, and then folded in the edges and then wrapped it around and then took it out, and then you kind of put it in. But I can do, if you're interested, I could do another video of it. So I spent a lot of time wrapping fabric and sorting it like this. So these are, so basically anything, this makes it look like I have a lot more fabric than I do, because some of these are not huge lengths. I've just wrapped it such that you can see the pattern on here. So this one I know, for instance, is not like a fat quarter or anything like that. If I unwrap that, it's a few different pieces that have been cut funny. But anyways, at least I can see the patterns that I have. But these are kind of, anyway, the folded piles are mostly the bigger ones that I could fold like that. And then if it got a bit smaller or there's an overspill like in white, I put it beside. Then I used, so this is an empty Nutella jar, and I've got some other empty jars you can see in the other colors. And these I've used for sort of jelly roll strips. I buy a lot of Moda scrap bags. So like that bee one is from that. And then sometimes you get a gift from folk. And rather than keep them in the sort of jelly roll to use together, I'm more likely to use them as a particular color. So I've done that. What I'm still struggling with in terms of the fabric is these smaller bits. So I can't fold them in the way I've folded the other ones. I mean, I could shove them into a jar as well, I suppose. But anyway, so I'm still working out a good solution, especially for blue. I've got all of these kind of stacked on top. This is a good one to show you for pink. So I've got the jelly rolls in here that are just kind of strips that are just like single strips. But then if I've got any where, because I buy people's offcuts and scraps all the time on eBay. I'm ridiculous. I'm going to try and stop doing that and just using these. But anyway, so this is something I bought. And so it's not like really a jelly roll, but it's, somebody's cut it and for a project and they've not finished it or something. But there's enough that I could like bind a quilt with that, all one color. So I've just left it together. That one I've clipped. Other ones I've used like an elastic band or whatever. So, and this is the same. This is kind of like the pink overflow here from the folded bit. So ideally I'd like to move this kind of stuff somewhere else, but I haven't worked that out yet. And then in here I have some other basically things I haven't sorted yet that, and then these are like the weights that you get on, balloons, but they're good for like pattern weights. So I keep those. And then my bins, I'm in love with my bins now. So basically I used some leftover wrapping paper from another project and taped them with great big clear packing tape. So the same tape that was over in my home office area, just to cover them up. And then I just printed out labels, on my home printer, cut them up. And again, I don't know if you can see that, like tape them on, just so that I do know, because obviously the problem with boxes that you cover is that you can't see what the stuff is. So I've got like one for, let's just see. So that seams and pockets of denim jeans. I know that. Jeans, that's just some other, I bought somebody else's cut up jeans that they've packaged really nicely. WIP means work in progress. So I'm currently working on some Scrappy Farmer's Wife quilt blocks. So they're in there, but whatever I'm working on, that's where like bits of it is gonna go. Shirts, I think these ones are uncut up shirts that I'm gonna do something with. Orphan blocks, that's just like scrappy blocks I've made to practice, and I don't know what I'm gonna do with yet. They might end up in a quilt block or back or something. Mending, so that's like, the reason it can be so small is it's mostly my kids' like trousers that have a hole in the knee and I need to do something with. And Christmas fabric, because I don't have very much of it. I obviously don't only use it so often. So that's that. And then the drawers, this one still looks like a mess, but it's got things like zippers, piping, that's like a bias tape maker, stuff for making keychains of various types. This just came off of a toy and I thought I could make a toy for somebody else and attach that like a baby book. I got these from my stepdad for Christmas. These are like little rattles for inside kids' toys and stuff like that. What's in here? Oh, I think this is my grandma's. Yeah, this is my grandma's like stuff. I took so much of her stuff when she died. So binding and bias binding, bias tape, like what's that called? Rickrack, stuff like that. I don't know when I'll use some of it because we had slightly different tastes, but I was like, I'm going to use it, right? So that's hers. I've got lots of her stuff, really. Scissors and all sorts of stuff. No, I'll put that back in. And then up here, so books and things. And these are the magazine files that I made. So this is wrapping paper left over from the same project. It was like a large wall art project. I put this wallpaper that's normally for great big mural walls. And I put it on like leftover pallet wood and other bits of wood that I had around my backyard and made like these huge wall art pieces with it. But I had some left over and it's really nice paper, so I wanted to use it. So the sides are just white. But the spines I've decorated, and then the labels are the same as the boxes. I've just printed that myself. These ones here, let me have all my glasses. My kids are always breaking my glasses, so I buy really cheap glasses and I have loads of them. So this is, I wrapped it with the same wallpaper, but it's salvages because I like to do things with them, don't throw them away. And then this is like overflow from the salvages. I might get a bigger jar when we use something up, like a big pasta jar or something. And this is random buttons. I've got more upstairs because I've got a different craft cupboard for some other things, which I'm trying to amalgamate into this room, but that's just some easy access buttons. And then this one is measuring tapes in there. Yeah. And then this drawer is a bit of a hodgepodge, but it's like stuff I'm cutting up for various, so this is, it's hard to see, this These are little like half square triangle blocks of denim and shirt that were left over from my denim quilt that I made last summer, and they're just so tiny and fiddly. I know I need to make something out of them, but I just haven't got around to it. So that's there. These things that are getting stuck here are chopsticks. I use them for like turning corners and things when you're like you know, turning a bag inside it the right way out when you're finished making it, a pouch or something. Or I've also used them as like the back, like the dowel in like a little wall hanging or something. So I might show that in the video one day. And then these are, this is like a tiny empty box. I probably should change this, but this is like, I was gonna make a quilt that I was following the pattern and it required all these small little blocks. I thought it'd be great for scraps, but then when I saw exactly how small they were, I lost the love of it. But anyway, they're in there. If I ever like cut, I might go back to that one. This one I've started just making scrappy, oh, I forgot what they're called again. I'm sure you know what it is if you're a quilter. So I'm not sure whether that's going to be one project or just going to go in a bag or something, but they're there. And this is another thing that I'm just slowly working. So I like to do different kind of foundation paper piecing patterns just to get rid of scraps and things. So this one is flying geese, and if I get enough, I might put it together into like some sort of hodgepodge scrappy flying geese quilt or something. So so that's kind of different to the orphan blocks up there because there's kind of more than one of them, and I'm kind of somewhat doing them intentionally. These are like foundation paper piecing patterns that I've either printed or bought or whatever, and then just some other types of paper, crafty paper that I might use for sewing and stuff. And that's just craft paper, so that's some of the leftover like wallpaper from these magazine pads and things like that I made. And then this is my thread drawer, which is way more organized than what my thread used to look like. So I've got the bigger ones for the sewing machine, the ones I've not opened here. These are still for the sewing machine, most of them I think, but they're the smaller size, my bobbins. And then back there I've just got like the thread that whatever I got from my grandma, or I had before I got serious about sewing and quilting, and it was really just for like hand sewing and stuff like that, right? So occasionally I still use that to do something quickly. Okay, so over here on this wall, I'm not quite finished. This is kind of like behind where I sit when I'm sewing. So I took this out of my kid's room because he wasn't really using it. Everything, you'd take things out and everything went back in. And I've not filled it up yet. So what I'm trying to do with the stuff on the back wall is put stuff there that I need to know where it is, but I don't necessarily use every day. So I can kind of, I would stand up and get it, but it doesn't need to be in this area over here where I have stuff that I use more often. So I've got in the moment like twine and some like fabric markers and things, but I'm gonna see what else I need to populate into that. And here, like this big empty space, there's gonna be something probably like a wall hanging quilt or a macrame wall hanging or something like that. I'm gonna make something anyway to just make it pretty there. And then over here, this, let me just move so you can see it. This is, this was a part of a dish drying rack. My husband does the dishes and he got a new one. So I saw this and I kind of thought, oh, I could do something with that. So I probably think with some hooks, I could put some more things on it. But for now, it's like the big scissors that I don't use all the time. And this is a little tool that I made on the back of a video from Karen Brown, which I'll link to as well. So I use it for binding, but obviously I'm not binding a quilt every day, but I do want to know where it is. So I don't want to like put it away in a drawer and not be able to find it. So that's why that's there. And then if I sit down here at my sewing desk, so this is me sat behind my sewing machine, there's that there. The stuff I've put around here is stuff that I use a lot more often. So over here, I've got rulers, this one and this big one I use most often, and then these other ones I just made sense to keep the rulers somewhat together. These are my different like feet for the sewing machine, pins, and But I have a separate bowl for clips. I might put those in a jar or something. And this is kind of like the stuff I use most often. So the rotary cutter, little scissors for snipping threads, some pens, seam ripper, fabric pen, and my little stand for holding up my phone, stuff like that I just like want to reach for all the time. I've got my timer, various lamps and things. And then this is my, so I'm trying this out. I kind of think I want to do something different for, make something to go here for scraps, because I think I want to organize them by color as I'm sort of making scraps, because that's how I tend to use them. But for now, I've got this hamper thing that came as part of like a Christmas, it was a Christmas hamper from my uncle anyways. And so I just thought it might be neater to hide them away in something that I can close and still go into fairly easily and have good access to. So that stays down here for the moment. This is what I used to use for the scrap bin. So that might be a thread catcher bin, or I might do something else here to try to separate them by color, because I think that's the easiest way for me to use them, really. And then down here in these drawers, this is another one that's like, I might need to access fairly frequently. So I've got brushes, which are mainly for cleaning out the machine, fluffing the machine. These are my extra needles and things for the machine. And then under there is like quilting gloves and little templates. So I cut out different sizes of things as I have scraps, because I'm always trying to make sure I'm using everything. And then these are like really specialty feet, like the buttonhole and stuff that I'm not really a garment maker. I kind of aspire to it, but I don't do it that often. So that's what that is there. And this is where those hexes kind of go. It's a vase. And then I've got the papers in there for, you know, when I've got time or I'm going to watch TV and I still want to be productive, I would just like glue them. I've got more of that. There's an English paper piecing box up there that's got a different size of the cards and things like that in there. And then the other drawers, this one is not been sorted. This is like old belts, old scrap samples of leather to use for like handles and bags and stuff. So that's not really been sorted, and I probably don't need easy access to that, but anyway. And then that's some larger bits of like more upholstery fabric. This is like test, you know, like when you're testing the quilting you want to do for something, little bits like that. And then this, which is why this thing doesn't shut, is my son's, my son who was 4. We've been working on this since he was 3. He's making a quilt. I just gave him like a bag of pre-cut squares, and he's been choosing how they go together, and he's been using the sewing machine without the presser foot, so we just press the stop start button, and I just kind of help him keep it somewhat straight. And so it's a work in progress, because sometimes he's really keen on it and sometimes he's not really wanting to work on it, but anyway. And then I think that, and this is like old clothes, sheets, pillowcases that I think I can redo something with. And then that big black bin, which is on wheels, has got all the batting in it and stuff like that. And down under here, it's still a mess. It's like so I still need to, this is still the work in progress bit, is I have somewhat put stuff here that I don't need that often. So like different kinds of interfacing, the manual for the sewing machine, an iron I don't use very much, some other things I think I'm going to upcycle, other tools. I like some of this could be in the craft cupboard upstairs, or it could go, or I could just organize it better. So I might do an update if I ever do that. And then this is like old, like overflow from the kitchen. So that's my mom's old china that I'm too scared to use at the moment when the kids are young and stuff like that. So breakable things and serving dishes that we don't use very often. So not ideal to have in your crafting workspace. But anyway, we all have to make do with the space we've got. And I think I've got a pretty good setup here, so I can't really complain. So that's it. That's the big before and after. It was obviously a mess before. It's still perhaps cluttered by some people's standards, but for me, this is much, much neater and much more usable. And I've got my distinct sort of home office area over there, and then my sewing area, crafting area, which is working so much better for me. And then any other like crafts, like I've got this big area of floor space for doing there. So that's mostly just sewing, but other things I can do there. And so far I'm keeping it tidy and neat, and definitely enjoying it. I'm definitely one for doing a massive overhaul and then it all kind of goes downhill from there. But so far I'm really liking it, and it's definitely making it easier for me to pick out fabrics because I can definitely see them better this way. So although it might seem kind of impractical to be like folding it all up like this, it actually makes it easier to work with, I think. So yeah, I'm really happy with it, and I will come back and do an update once I've filled that wall with something pretty. So thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and maybe you got a few ideas for your own space. And please, if you did like it, please hit the like bell and subscribe. It really helps me out. And I hope I see you again soon.